Captain Lee Hyun stood at the window of his small office on Earth's orbital station. He watched the blue planet spin slowly below him. The sight used to make him feel proud. Now it just made him feel sick. In his hands, he held a message that would change everything for humanity. The message had come from the Galactic Council 3 hours ago. Lee Hyun had read it 5 times, hoping the words would change. They never did. The Council wanted 80% of all humans. They called it labor redistribution. Lee Hyun knew what it really meant. Slavery. A knock on his door broke his thoughts. "Come in," he said. Dr. Park Soo-jin entered the room. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. She had been studying alien biology for 20 years. Lee Hyun trusted her more than anyone else on the station. "You got the message too," Park Soo-jin said. It was not a question. Lee Hyun nodded. 80%? They want 80% of our people. Park Soo-jin sat down in the chair across from his desk. "The Council thinks we are animals. They see us as tools to be used and thrown away." "What choice do we have?" Lee Hyun asked. "They have ships that can destroy entire planets. We have fishing boats compared to their war machines." Park Soo-jin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "That is what they think. That is what we wanted them to think." Lee Hyun stared at her. "What do you mean?" "How long have we been in the Council?" Park Soo-jin asked. 50 years. 50 years of being told we are weak. 50 years of being given their old technology like scraps to a dog. 50 years of them thinking we are stupid. Park Soo-jin leaned forward. "What if I told you we have been using those 50 years differently than they think?" Before Lee Hyun could answer, his door opened again. An old man walked in without being invited. Lee Hyun recognized him immediately. Admiral Kim Tae-ho, the hero of the First Contact Wars. He had been forced to retire when the Council demanded it. "Admiral," Lee Hyun said, standing up quickly. "Sir, you should not be here. The Council said you were not allowed on military stations." Kim Tae-ho laughed. It was a deep, rough sound. "The Council says many things. Today, I stopped listening to them." The old admiral looked at both of them. His eyes were hard like stone. "You both know what the message says. You both know what they want. From us." Park Soo-jin nodded. "We were just discussing our options." "Options?" Kim Tae-ho shook his head. "There is only one option now. We fight." Lee Hyun felt his heart sink. "Sir, with respect, we cannot fight the entire galaxy. They have weapons we cannot even understand. Their smallest ships are bigger than our largest ones." Kim Tae-ho walked to the window and looked down at Earth. "Tell me, Captain, what do you see when you look at our planet?" Lee Hyun joined him at the window. "I see home. I see 7 billion people who are about to become slaves." "I see something different," the Admiral said. "I see 7 billion people who have been preparing for this day without knowing it." Park Soo-jin stood up and moved to a cabinet in the corner of the room. She pressed her hand against what looked like a normal wall panel. The panel beeped and opened, revealing a hidden compartment. "Captain Lee Hyun," she said formally, "what I am about to show you is classified at the highest level. This information has been kept secret from the Council for 45 years. She pulled out a small device that Lee Hyun had never seen before. It looked like alien technology, but something was different about it. The design was cleaner, more efficient. "This is a Corvin energy cell," Park Soo-jin explained. "The Council gave us this technology 20 years ago. They told us it was old and barely functional. They expected us to use it exactly as they showed us." She activated the device. It glowed with a bright blue light that was much stronger than any Corvin technology Lee Hyun had seen. "We did not use it exactly as they showed us," Park Soo-jin continued. "We studied it. We took it apart. We understood how it worked. Then we made it better." Lee Hyun stared at the device. "Better?" How is that possible? Admiral Kim Tae-ho turned from the window. Because humans do something the council species stopped doing long ago. We improve things. We adapt. We refuse to accept that this is the best we can do. Park Soo-jin put the device away and pulled out another item. This one looked like a weapon, but again it was clearly modified human work. Every piece of technology they gave us, we made better. Every gift became a lesson. Every condescending demonstration became intelligence we could use. She looked directly at Lee Hyun. They think they are giving orders to primitives. They have no idea what we really are. Lee Hyun's mind was racing. How many people know about this? Enough, Admiral Kim Tae-ho said. Scientists, engineers, military personnel, people who have been working in secret for decades, preparing for the day when the council would show their true nature. But why keep it secret from everyone else? Lee Hyun asked. Park Soo-jin answered. Because the council watches everything. They have spies, monitoring systems, ways of reading our communications. The only way to truly surprise them was to make sure they never suspected what we were really doing. Admiral Kim Tae-ho moved back to the desk and sat down heavily. The council made a mistake, Captain. They assumed that because they stopped growing, stopped learning, stopped improving, that all intelligent species must be the same way. Humans are not the same way, Park Soo-jin added. We never stop. We never accept limits. When they gave us their cast-off technology and expected us to be grateful, we were grateful, but not in the way they thought. Lee Hyun was beginning to understand. We were grateful for the education. Exactly, Admiral Kim Tae-ho said. And now school is over. The council has just declared war on humanity. They think it will be easy. They think we will surrender without a fight. Park Soo-jin smiled again, and this time it was a predator's smile. They are about to learn that humans do not surrender. We adapt, we overcome, and we win. Lee Hyun looked at both of them. These people had been planning for this day since before he was born. They had been preparing humanity for a war that everyone thought was impossible. What do you need me to do? He asked. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood up. Send a message back to the council. Tell them humanity rejects their ultimatum. And then? Then we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten the wrong species, Park Soo-jin said. Lee Hyun walked back to his desk and sat down at his communication console. His hands shook slightly as he began typing the message that would change the course of galactic history. The council had given humanity an ultimatum. Now humanity would give them an education. Commander Choi Min-ho had never seen anything like it. He stood in a massive underground hangar that should not have existed. Above ground, this location was marked as a simple mining facility. Below ground, it was something that would make the Galactic Council very nervous. How long has this been here? He asked engineer Bae Ji-woo, who was walking beside him. Construction started 30 years ago, Bae Ji-woo replied. We built it slowly, carefully. The council's satellites see a mining operation. Their sensors detect normal human industrial activity. They have no idea what we really built down here. The hangar was enormous. Choi Min-ho could see dozens of spacecraft lined up in neat rows, but these were not the simple cargo ships that humanity was supposed to have. These looked fast, deadly, and completely unlike anything the council had ever seen before. These are ours? Choi Min-ho asked. Built from the ground up, Bae Ji-woo said proudly. Using council technology as a starting point, but improved in ways they never imagined. They walked toward the nearest ship. It was sleek and angular, about the size of a council fighter, but shaped completely differently. Where council ships were built for predictable flight patterns, this one looked like it could move in ways that would confuse enemy targeting systems. The council thinks in straight lines, Bae Ji-woo explained. Their ships fly from point A to point B using the most efficient route. Their weapons fire in predictable patterns. Their tactics never change because they found what works and decided it was perfect. Choi Min-ho ran his hand along the ship's hull. The metal felt different from council materials. Smoother, but somehow stronger. Humans think differently, Bei, Jiwoo continued. We look at their perfect systems and ask, but what if we did this instead? We take their straight line and turn it into a curve, a spiral, a dance. Lieutenant Colonel Han So-young approached them from across the hangar. She was carrying a helmet and flight suit that looked more advanced than anything Choi Min-ho had seen in Council space. "Commander Choi," she said, "I hope you are ready for the most unusual flight training of your life." Choi Min-ho had been flying Council-designed ships for 15 years. He thought he knew everything about space combat. "What makes these different, Hani?" So-young smiled. "Council fighters are flown by pilots who follow strict protocols. Every maneuver is calculated by computers. Every attack follows approved patterns. The aliens fly like they are following a recipe." She handed him the helmet. "These ships are different. They respond to intuition, creativity, instinct, all the things that make humans unpredictable." Bei Jiwoo led them to another area of the hangar where weapons were displayed on tables. Choi Min-ho recognized some of the basic shapes: energy rifles, plasma cannons, shield generators. But again, everything looked modified, improved, made more efficient. "Council weapons are powerful," Bei Jiwoo said, picking up what looked like a standard energy rifle. "But they are designed by committee. Every feature is tested, approved, standardized. They work exactly as intended, nothing more." He activated the weapon. It hummed with energy, but the sound was different from Council weapons. Cleaner, more focused. "Human weapons are designed by individuals who understand that exactly as intended is just the starting point," Bei Jiwoo continued. "We ask, what if we need more power? What if we need better accuracy? What if the situation is something the designers never thought of?" Han So-young picked up another weapon. This one looked like it could be configured in multiple ways. "Council soldiers carry specialized equipment for specific situations. Humans carry adaptable equipment that can handle unexpected situations." Choi Min-ho was beginning to understand the scope of what he was seeing. "How many people have been working on this?" "Thousands," Han So-young replied. "Scientists, engineers, pilots, soldiers. All working in small groups, all keeping secrets, all preparing for the day when humanity would need to defend itself." They moved to a command center where Dr. Park Soo-jin was studying multiple displays. Each screen showed different types of alien technology, but with detailed notes about modifications and improvements. "Doctor," Choi Min-ho said. "Commander Choi," Min-ho reporting for briefing. Park Soo-jin looked up from her screens. "Commander, what I'm about to tell you will change how you think about humanity's place in the galaxy." She activated a large display that showed a map of Council space. Hundreds of star systems, thousands of worlds, millions of ships. "The Council believes they are the pinnacle of galactic civilization," Park Soo-jin said. "They have convinced themselves that their technology, their methods, their way of thinking represents the best possible approach to any problem." The display changed to show detailed analyses of Council military capabilities, ship designs, weapon specifications, tactical doctrines. "They are wrong," Park Soo-jin continued. "What they have achieved is not perfection. It is stagnation. They stopped improving because they decided they were already perfect." Bei Jiwoo joined them at the display. "Every piece of technology they shared with us was outdated by their own standards. They gave us their old, inefficient designs and expected us to be grateful. Instead, we were curious," Han So-young added. "We took their old designs and asked ourselves, how can we make this better?" Park Soo-jin changed the display to show comparative analysis, Council technology versus human improvements. In every category, human modifications showed significant advantages. Their energy weapons used 30% more power for the same damage output, Park Soo-jin explained. Their ship engines are reliable but slow to respond. Their shield systems protect against known threats but cannot adapt to new ones. Choi Min-ho studied the data. We fixed all of these problems? We did more than fix them, Bae Ji-woo said. We reimagined them. Council technology is like a book that never gets updated. Human technology is like a conversation that never ends, Han. So Young led them to a simulation area where pilots could practice flying the new ships without leaving the ground. Commander, I want you to try something. Fly one of our fighters against a simulated council squadron. Choi Min-ho put on the advanced helmet and climbed into the simulator. The controls felt familiar, but different. More responsive, more intuitive. The simulation began. Enemy ships appeared on his display, flying in perfect formation. Following predictable attack patterns, Choi Min-ho engaged them using standard council tactics. He lost quickly. Now try again, Han So-young said. But this time, forget everything the council taught you about proper flying. Trust your instincts. Be unpredictable. The second simulation was completely different. Choi Min-ho found himself flying in ways that made no sense according to council. Doctrine, spiral attacks, sudden direction changes, weapons fired in patterns that seemed random but somehow always hit their targets. This time, he destroyed the entire enemy squadron without taking a hit. How is this possible? He asked, climbing out of the simulator. Park Soo-jin answered, because council pilots train to fight other council pilots. They have never faced an opponent who fights like a human. Bae Ji-woo nodded. They prepare for logical, predictable enemies. We are neither logical nor predictable. Han So-young showed him recordings from the simulator. Look at your flight path. No council pilot would ever fly like that. It wastes energy, breaks formation, violates every rule of space combat. But it works, Choi Min-ho said. It works because you are not trying to be efficient, Park Soo-jin explained. You are trying to be effective. The council optimized their military for fighting wars exactly like the last war they won. We optimized our military for fighting wars that have never been fought before. As they walked back through the hangar, Choi Min-ho realized the true scope of humanity's preparation. This was not just about building better weapons or faster ships. This was about fundamentally changing how war could be fought. When do we begin? He asked. Han So-young checked her watch. The council's ultimatum expires in 6 hours. Admiral Kim Tae-ho has already sent our rejection of their terms. Which means, Bae Ji-woo said with satisfaction, it is time to show the galaxy what human engineering can really do. Park Soo-jin looked at all of them. The council expects us to surrender or die. They are about to discover a third option they never considered. What option is that? Choi Min-ho asked. Win, she said simply. Major General Oh Sung-min watched the council enforcement fleet approach through his ship's view screen. 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a city with a single shot. They moved in perfect formation, broadcasting demands for humanity's immediate surrender. The alien commander's voice filled the communication channel. Primitive humans, you have rejected the council's generous offer. We come now to collect what we require by force. Surrender your vessels and prepare for pacification. Oh Sung-min smiled grimly. The aliens had no idea they were flying into a trap that had been 40 years in the making. Captain Shin Hye-jin report, he said into his communicator. Shin Hye-jin's voice came back immediately. All stealth teams in position, General. The supply convoy is completely unaware of our presence. Oh Sung-min looked at his tactical display. While the council's attention was focused on the obvious target, his human ships hiding near Earth, Shin Hye-jin's teams were already inside the alien supply lines. They had infiltrated the support vessels using captured council identification. Codes and forged documentation. Specialist Kang Dong-woo, status on communication interference? Oh Sung-min asked. Ready to execute, sir, came the reply. The aliens use centralized command protocols. Once I disrupt their primary communication node, their entire fleet will lose coordination. This was the advantage humanity had discovered during decades of studying alien technology. The Council species were efficient, but they lacked flexibility. They built systems that worked perfectly under normal conditions, but failed catastrophically when faced with unexpected problems. The lead Council ship opened fire with a warning shot. A beam of energy passed close to Oh Sung-min's flagship, demonstrating the aliens' overwhelming firepower advantage. "Last chance, humans," the alien commander broadcast. "Surrender now or face destruction." Oh Sung-min activated his fleet communication system. "All ships, this is General O. Execute Typhoon Protocol." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human ships that the aliens could see were not the real threat. They were decoys, designed to look like humanity's entire defensive fleet. While the Council focused on these obvious targets, the real attack came from everywhere else. Shin Hye-jin's infiltration teams activated simultaneously. From inside the alien supply convoy, human soldiers began systematically destroying support systems. Fuel ships exploded, ammunition transports lost power, command vessels found their computers infected with viruses designed specifically for Council technology. "What is happening?" The alien commander's voice carried a note of confusion that Oh Sung-min had never heard from a Council officer before. Specialist Kang Dong-woo answered that question by launching his cyber attack. "Council!" Ships relied on constant communication between vessels to coordinate their actions. When that communication disappeared, 12 powerful warships suddenly became 12 confused individual units. But the real surprise was yet to come. From seemingly empty space around the alien fleet, human ships began decloaking. These were not the simple cargo vessels the Council expected humanity to possess. These were the products of decades of secret development, incorporating every improvement human engineers had made to alien technology. Commander Choi Min-ho led the first attack squadron. His fighters moved in patterns that confused alien targeting computers. Where Council ships flew in straight lines, human ships spiraled, dove, and climbed in three-dimensional maneuvers that made no sense to enemies trained for predictable combat. "Multiple human vessels appearing on all sides," reported an alien officer, his voice broadcasting on channels that Kang Dong-woo had compromised. "They are not following standard attack protocols." Oh Sung-min watched as Choi Min-ho's squadron began their assault. Human weapons, upgraded far beyond their Council origins, tore through alien shields that had been designed to stop known threats. But humanity's weapons were unknown threats, using power levels and frequencies that alien defenses had never encountered. The first Council ship to fall was a heavy cruiser that had dominated space battles for 300 years. It died in less than 90 seconds, overwhelmed by human fighters that attacked from angles its designers had never considered possible. "Impossible," the alien commander broadcast. "Human technology cannot penetrate our defenses." Shin Hye-jin's voice came over the human communication network. "General, supply convoy is completely neutralized. Alien reinforcements will not be coming." Oh Sung-min nodded with satisfaction. "Well done, Captain. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was psychological warfare, something the Council had never experienced. Dr. Park Soo-jin had spent years studying alien behavior patterns, learning how species that had never faced serious opposition would react to unexpected defeat. The answer was badly. Kang Dong-woo began broadcasting messages on all Council frequencies, not threats of violence, but something much more disturbing to the alien mindset. "Council vessels, this is humanity speaking. We offer you one chance to surrender. Your choice is simple. Retreat now, or learn why your technology is inferior to ours." For species that had convinced themselves they were technologically superior to all others, this message was more devastating than any weapon. The suggestion that their perfect systems might have flaws was a concept they could not easily process. Another council ship exploded as human fighters swarmed around it like angry insects. The aliens tried to respond with their standard tactics, but those tactics required coordination they no longer possessed and predictable enemies they were not facing. Human vessels are using impossible flight patterns, another alien officer reported. Our targeting systems cannot establish locks. Oh Sung-min watched as his forces demonstrated the fundamental difference between council and human military doctrine. The aliens fought to minimize losses and preserve their perfect formations. Humans fought to win, regardless of whether their methods looked proper or efficient. Commander Choi Min-ho's squadron split up and began individual attacks on different targets. This violated every principle of Council space combat, but it worked perfectly against enemies who expected coordinated, predictable assault patterns. General, Shin Haijin reported, alien crew members are abandoning their posts. Internal security footage shows widespread panic. This was exactly what Dr. Park Soo-jin had predicted. Species that had never faced real adversity would not respond well to sudden, overwhelming defeat. The council crews were experiencing something their training had never prepared them for: the possibility that they might lose. Within 2 hours of the battle's beginning, 8 of the 12 council ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 4 were attempting to retreat, but human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything in the alien fleet. Council Command Vessel, this is Major General Oh Sung-min of the Human Defense Force. He broadcast on open channels. Your ultimatum has been rejected. Your enforcement fleet has been defeated. You now have a choice. The alien commander's response came slowly, his voice uncertain for the first time in the conversation. What choice? Withdraw from human space, immediately and permanently, or face the consequences of continued aggression, Oh Sung-min replied. We have demonstrated that your technological superiority is an illusion. Do not force us to demonstrate it again. The remaining alien ships began retreating at maximum speed. They had come expecting to intimidate a primitive species into submission. Instead, they had encountered something their long, stagnant civilization had forgotten existed: an opponent that was actually superior to them. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Oh Sung-min opened a communication channel to Earth. Admiral Kim Tae-ho, this is General Oh. Mission accomplished. The Council Enforcement Fleet has been defeated. Kim Tae-ho's voice came back filled with grim satisfaction. Well done, General. But this is just the beginning. Word of this defeat will spread throughout Council space. They will not accept it easily. Oh Sung-min looked at his tactical display, which showed human ships regrouping after their overwhelming victory. Let them come, Admiral. Today they learned that humans do not surrender. Tomorrow they will learn that humans do not stop. Upper. First battle was over. The war for humanity's freedom had just begun. Fleet Admiral Lim Jae-sung stood before a holographic map that showed half the galaxy. Red markers indicated Council-controlled systems. Blue markers showed worlds where other species lived under alien rule. Green markers, still few but growing, marked systems where human liberation forces had arrived. Dr. Ryu Yunji, report on psychological operations, he said. Dr. Ryu Yunji stepped forward, carrying a tablet filled with data about alien mental states. Admiral, the results exceed our projections. Council species are experiencing what their own psychologists call paradigm shock. For 3,000 years, they have believed their way of thinking was the only correct way. Our victories have shattered that belief. 3 months had passed since the first battle at Earth. Word of humanity's impossible victory had spread throughout Council space faster than their ships could travel. The reaction had been exactly what human psychologists had predicted. The Council leadership is paralyzed by indecision, Dr. Ryu continued. They cannot understand how a primitive species defeated their finest military units. Their response has been to send larger fleets using the same failed tactics. Admiral Lim nodded grimly. And we have defeated those larger fleets even more decisively. Colonel Nam Ki-hyun entered the command center, fresh from his latest liberation mission. His uniform was clean, but his eyes showed the weariness of someone who had seen too much suffering. "Admiral, the Zelon system is secure," he reported. "The slave populations have been freed, and local resistance groups are now armed with human weapons and training." This was the strategy that was reshaping the galaxy. Humans did not conquer worlds to rule them. They liberated worlds to teach them how to fight for themselves. "How are the Zelans adapting to human military doctrine?" Admiral Lim asked. Colonel Nam smiled for the first time in weeks. "Better than expected. They have 30 years of anger built up against their council, oppressors. When we showed them that their masters could be defeated, they embraced human tactics with enthusiasm." Dr. Ryu activated a display showing psychological profiles of different alien species. "This is the pattern we see everywhere. Species that have been enslaved for generations possess tremendous motivation once they learn that resistance is possible." The human approach to liberation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of replacing one set of rulers with another, humans taught conquered populations to become unconquerable. "The Council calls us terrorists," Admiral Lim said. "They cannot understand why we give away military technology instead of keeping it for ourselves. They think in terms of dominance hierarchies," Dr. Ryu explained. "To them, power exists to be hoarded. The idea of sharing power to multiply it is completely foreign to their thinking." A communication officer approached with an urgent message. "Admiral, we are receiving broadcasts from the Corvan home system. Their planetary government is requesting immediate human assistance." Admiral Lim studied the tactical display. Corva was deep in Council space, defended by massive orbital fortresses. It should have been impossible for any resistance movement to threaten Council control there. "What is the situation?" he asked. "The Corvan resistance has captured 3 orbital platforms using weapons and tactics we provided to other liberation movements," the officer reported. "The Council is sending a full battle fleet to retake the system." Colonel Nam looked at the display with interest. The Corvans were some of the first aliens to make contact with humanity. "They were already slaves when we joined the Council." Dr. Ryu consulted her tablet. "Corvan psychology shows high adaptability and strong social cooperation. If they have successfully applied human military doctrine, they represent exactly the kind of ally we hope to create." Admiral Lim made a decision that would have seemed impossible to any Council strategist. "Colonel Nam, prepare a liberation fleet. We are going to help the Corvans defend their home system." "Sir," the communication officer said hesitantly, "the Council fleet heading to Corva includes 47 capital ships. Our forces in that region number only 12 vessels. Numbers do not determine victory," Admiral Lim replied. "Tactics, strategy, and motivation determine victory. The Council has superior numbers. We have superior everything else." As preparation for the Corva mission began, Dr. Ryu presented her latest analysis of Council military psychology. "Admiral, we have identified a critical weakness in Council command structure. Their officers are trained to follow orders without question, but they are not trained to adapt when those orders prove ineffective." She displayed recordings from recent battles where Council fleets had continued using failed tactics even as their ships were destroyed around them. "Human commanders modify their approach based on battlefield conditions," she continued. "Council commanders implement their predetermined strategy regardless of whether it is working." Colonel Nam was studying the tactical situation around Corva. "The Council fleet will expect us to defend the planet directly. They will position their forces to prevent us from establishing orbital superiority." "What do you recommend?" Admiral Lim asked. "We ignore the planet entirely," Colonel Nam said. "Let the Corvans handle planetary defense. We focus on something the Council cannot defend against." Admiral Lim understood immediately. "Their supply lines. This was the human way of war that the Council could never adapt to. While aliens focused on controlling territory, humans focused on controlling logistics. While Council fleets concentrated their forces for decisive battles, human forces dispersed to attack wherever the enemy was weakest. Dr. Ryu smiled approvingly. Council psychology emphasizes direct confrontation. They view indirect attacks as dishonorable. This cultural bias makes them vulnerable to strategies they consider beneath them. The Liberation Fleet departed for Corva 3 days later, 12 human ships against 47 Council vessels. On paper, it was suicide. In reality, it was a perfect demonstration of why human military thinking was superior to alien doctrine. Captain Shin Hye-jin's infiltration teams had already penetrated the Council supply network. When the alien fleet arrived at Corva, they found their fuel ships exploding, their ammunition convoys captured, and their communication networks compromised. Specialist Kang Dong-woo had learned to hack Council systems so effectively that alien ships often received orders they had never been given. Council commanders found themselves coordinating attacks that led their own forces into carefully prepared ambushes. Commander Choi Min-ho led fighter squadrons that attacked the Council fleet's weakest units first. Instead of targeting the strongest enemies, as Council doctrine demanded, humans eliminated support vessels and isolated powerful ships until they could be overwhelmed individually. The Battle of Corva lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 31 Council ships had been destroyed or captured. The remaining 16 retreated in complete disorder, carrying news of another impossible human victory back to Council space. But the real victory was not military. It was psychological. "Admiral," Dr. Ryu reported, "we are receiving communication requests from 43 different star systems. Enslaved populations throughout Council space are asking for human assistance with their own liberation movements." Admiral Lim looked at the tactical display, which now showed green markers appearing throughout the galaxy. Each marker represented a world where the oppressed had decided to fight back after learning that the Council could be defeated. "The Council's greatest fear is becoming reality," he said. "They are not facing a human invasion. They are facing a galactic revolution." Colonel Nam joined them at the display. "What are our orders, Admiral?" Lim Jae-sung smiled with quiet satisfaction. "We do what humans do best, Colonel. We teach everyone who wants to learn how to be free. The war was no longer between humanity and the Council. It was between freedom and oppression, with humans serving as teachers in a classroom that spanned the stars." President Ko Young-soo walked through the corridors of what had once been the Galactic Council's most secure facility. 2 years had passed since the first shots were fired at Earth. Now he moved through halls where alien leaders who had ruled the galaxy for millennia waited to learn their fate. The war was over. Not because humanity had conquered every Council world, but because the Council had finally understood that they could not win against an idea whose time had come. Ambassador Seo Hyo-rin met him at the entrance to the main chamber. She carried documents that would reshape galactic civilization, but her expression was thoughtful rather than triumphant. "Mr. President," she said formally, "the Council representatives are ready to hear our terms." Ko Young-soo nodded. "Are our people in position?" "Grand Admiral Moon Chang-min has security handled," Seo Hyo-rin replied. "The Liberation Fleet commanders are standing by. Dr. Park Soo-jin and her science team are ready to begin the transition." They entered the chamber where 15 of the galaxy's most powerful beings sat in chairs that had once been thrones. These aliens had ruled star systems before humans learned to make fire. Now they waited to hear what mercy, if any, a species they had tried to enslave would offer them. The Corvan representative spoke first. His people had been among the first to join the human-led rebellion. "President Ko, what will become of the Council worlds?" Ko Young-soo took his place at the center of the chamber. Around him sat beings from dozens of species, some former rulers, others former slaves. All of them waited for his answer. There will be no punishment, he said simply. The statement created a stir among both former council members and liberation representatives. The concept of mercy toward defeated enemies was so foreign to galactic politics that many species lacked words for it. A Xerion council member, his voice filled with suspicion, asked, "What do you mean, no punishment?" Ambassador Seo Hyorin stepped forward. "We mean exactly what President Ko said. No executions, no slavery, no conquest. The war is over. Now we build something better." She activated a holographic display that showed the proposed new galactic government. Instead of a rigid hierarchy, with powerful species controlling weaker ones, it showed a democratic federation where every world had an equal voice. "This is impossible," declared a Vorthan representative. "Inferior species cannot be trusted with important decisions. The natural order requires superior beings to guide lesser ones." Grand Admiral Moon Chang-min entered the chamber at that moment. His presence was a quiet reminder that humanity's military superiority was now an established fact. But he carried no weapons, wore no armor. His power came from what he represented, not what he threatened. "The natural order," Moon Chang-min said calmly, "is that intelligent beings deserve freedom. Everything else is artificial." Dr. Park Soo-jin joined the group, bringing with her a device that many council members recognized with fear. It was a human-modified scanner capable of detecting deception, reading emotional states, and analyzing psychological patterns. "We have studied your species for decades," she announced. "We understand your motivations, your fears, your capacity for change. We know which of you can adapt to a free galaxy and which of you cannot." This was the moment the former council members had been dreading. They expected human justice to involve the same brutality they had always used against their enemies. President. Ko studied each alien face carefully. "Dr. Park, what does your analysis show?" "Surprising results," Park Soo-jin replied. "Most council species are not inherently evil. They are products of a system that rewarded domination and punished compassion. Remove the system, provide proper guidance, and most can learn to live differently." She highlighted several council members on her display. "These individuals show psychological patterns consistent with adaptation to democratic governance. They can be trusted with limited authority under proper oversight." Then she highlighted others. "These individuals show patterns consistent with sociopathic dominance drives. They will never accept equality with species they consider inferior." Ko Young-soo nodded. "Those who can adapt will be given the chance to earn places in the new government. Those who cannot adapt will be relocated to isolated worlds where they can live according to their old ways without harming others." The chamber erupted in shocked conversations. The aliens had expected death or slavery. Instead, they were being offered rehabilitation or exile. Ambassador Seo Hyorin continued the presentation. "The new Galactic Federation will operate on principles unknown to the old council. Every member world will have equal representation. No species will rule over others. All decisions will be made by democratic vote." A young Zelon representative, whose people had been slaves for 2 centuries, stood up. "What prevents the strong from simply taking power by force, as they always have?" Grand Admiral Moon Chang-min answered. "The same thing that prevented the Council from destroying humanity when we first resisted. Superior force means nothing against superior ideas backed by superior determination." He gestured to the assembled representatives. "Look around this room. Former slaves and former masters sitting together as equals. This happened because humans proved that the old way of thinking was wrong. We will continue to prove it for as long as necessary." Dr. Park Soo-jin displayed recordings from liberated worlds throughout the galaxy. Planets where former enemies now work together to build better societies. Star systems where species that had been at war for millennia were learning to cooperate. "Human military superiority is temporary," she explained. "Eventually, other species will develop comparable technology. But human ideas about freedom, democracy, and equality are permanent. They work better than dominance hierarchies, and once beings experience true freedom, they will never willingly return to slavery. President Ko stood and walked to the center of the chamber. The choice before you is simple. Join us in building a galaxy where all intelligent life can flourish, or remain trapped in old patterns of thinking that led to your defeat. The Corvan representative was the first to respond. My people choose the future President Ko describes. 1. By one, other species declared their willingness to try democracy. Even some former council members, seeing the writing on the wall, agreed to participate in the new system. Only a handful of the most rigid hierarchical species chose exile over adaptation. They were provided with suitable worlds and left to govern themselves according to their old ways, with the understanding that any attempt to rebuild their empires would be met with immediate human intervention. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Ambassador Seo Hyo-rin found herself standing beside a young human technician who was setting up communication equipment for the new Federation. Was it worth it? The technician asked quietly. All the fighting, all the lives lost, all the changes? Seo Hyo-rin looked through the chamber's massive window at a view of space filled with ships from dozens of different species, all flying together in peaceful formation. Ask me again in 100 years, she said. When children who are born today grow up in a galaxy where slavery is just a word in history books. When beings from different worlds work together to solve problems instead of fighting over who gets to be in charge. The technician followed her gaze. Do you think it will last? Ideas have momentum, Seo Hyo-rin replied. Bad ideas eventually collapse under their own contradictions. Good ideas survive because they work better than the alternatives. Grand. Admiral Moon Changmin joined them at the window. The hardest part is over, he said. We proved that change was possible. Now we have to prove that it was worth the effort. President Ko approached the group as they watched ships from throughout the galaxy preparing to return to their home systems, carrying news of the new Federation to billions of beings who had never known true freedom. The council lasted 3,000 years, he said. They thought that made them permanent. But permanence is not about lasting a long time. It is about building something so good that people choose to preserve it. As Earth's sun set behind them, casting long shadows through the chamber, the leaders of humanity's revolution began planning for a future none of them had dared imagine when the Council first threatened their homeworld. The war was over. The work of building a better galaxy had just begun. In the end, humanity's greatest victory was not military. It was proving that the galaxy could be better than it was, and then making that dream into reality.